Are you ready to level up your messaging and your video content? In this video, I'm going to give you one secret, powerful strategy that you can use to get more clarity when learning how to create a target primary audience. I promise this video isn't going to be your typical niche down advice that you've been hearing everywhere else. So make sure you don't miss 1 second of this video so you can see how it all ties together. If you're new here, I'm Matt, and this channel is all about guiding online coaches to spread your message, grow your audience, and create a big impact with video. So if that resonates with you, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications on my future videos. Before we dig into the secret strategy, there's a couple of basics that we need to cover. Your target primary audience is basically a group of people who share a similar worldview. Let's imagine for a moment a fitness coach named John. John's uncle invited him to a private event at a multi-millionaire's home. John doesn't really know anybody at this event, but he's looking to, meet some new people, build some relationships. John continues through the groups and the party, and he goes to the back of the room and notices 3 distinct groups of people. And so he wants to get in on a conversation and see what everybody's talking about before he kind of jumps into the conversations. The group on the far left is having a heated discussion about politics, your typical left versus right type stuff, Republicans versus Democrats. So maybe he doesn't want to get into that conversation. The group on the right is passionately swapping day trading stories, victories, lessons learned, failures. The group at the very back in the middle is having a discussion about fad diets. So which group is John most likely going to join? You might assume the group talking about fad diets, and you'd probably be right. The correct answer is, it depends on John's worldview. Since a lot of our decision-making processes come through belief systems, it's possible that if John was raised in a family that had strong political views, he might want to jump into that conversation. Or maybe John has an uncle who's a day trader and he's been talking about options trading so much and trying to encourage John to get into that. The point is, in order to build your target primary audience, you have to think about how your audience views the world, and more importantly, what are their belief systems around that worldview? This is important because our belief systems lead to thoughts, and thoughts lead to actions. Seth Godin says in his book, All Marketers Tell Stories, a worldview is the lens used to look at every decision a person is asked to make. People clump together into common worldviews, and your job is to find a previously undiscovered clump and frame a story for those people. Great book, by the way. I'm going to be going through this one a few times because, it's only like a couple hundred pages, but this is full of amazing knowledge, and you will get an uncommon perspective on marketing from Seth Godin. So I definitely recommend his books. And if you want to check this out, I'll have a link in the description below. All right, so let's dig in. We're going to head over to the whiteboard and dig into the first secret, powerful strategy you can use to develop your target primary audience. So what we're going to be doing is using a bell curve to map out and identify belief systems. Traditionally, bell curves are used to map out the adoption cycle from, the innovators to the early adopters to the mass market, and then the laggards, the people that don't really buy anything new. They use rotary phones and VCRs and all that good stuff. So we're actually going to take that idea and throw it away, and we're going to use the bell curve to identify what the belief systems are and how they relate to your industry. One thing I'd just like to point out that might seem obvious is that this whole activity for your target primary audience is to identify who your ideal customers would be, and what that group is, what their worldview is, and how their belief systems are related. By mapping out the belief systems, you're able to get a better idea of how they think, and you can start to identify different groups of people that might share a similar worldview. So with that in mind, let's create your bell curve. Step 1, write down your industry and services. For me, that's video training and consulting. If you're a culinary nutritionist, one example might be one-on-one group coaching or in-person workshops. Step 2, red versus blue. Next, we're going to draw your bell curve, and we're going to determine what the polar opposites are in your industry when it comes to beliefs. For example, in my industry, one belief is video can grow my business. If you're a dietitian, for example, you might put something over here like paleo. On the right-hand side, we're going to do the polar opposite belief. For the nutritional consultant, what you might put over on the right is keto. Another example would be fad diets versus weight management. Step 3, the donut factor. What is the neutral belief that represents the largest group of people? The neutral area, the donut factor, is actually where you're going to find the most amount of competition. This is where most business owners and marketers are focusing their messaging, and it's the area that has the most amount of noise. Smart people like you and I know that there's a much better opportunity to serve your ideal clients in underserved groups of like-minded individuals. So we're going to think about what is the neutral belief and then write that in the middle. For example, when it comes to business owners who aren't creating video content, which I believe is still the mass majority, they might have belief systems around it's too time consuming, it's too hard, it's too expensive, I don't know how this is going to get me a return on investment. When it comes to nutrition, the most common belief is likely something like it's too hard to eat healthy and healthy food doesn't taste good. So think about what is the most common belief in your industry. Step 4, been there, done that, didn't work. Who are the people that have tried to solve a problem already, and what do they think about your industry and your services? When it comes to online coaches creating their own video content, there's definitely going to be a group of people that have already hired a videographer or tried to learn how to create their own videos. So for me, the example would be, I've already tried to learn how to make my own videos and I just got overwhelmed. That would be a popular belief. When it comes to dieting and nutrition, one thing people might believe that have already tried it is that they've already tried so many diets and it just doesn't seem to work long term. If you're an executive coach, then one thing your audience might believe is that executive coaching doesn't work. They've already tried it. Maybe they worked with somebody and they weren't able to get results. So ask yourself, what is the most popular belief for people who have already tried services in your industry, and write that here. Step 5, pick your sweet spot along the bell curve. Remember, there's going to be the most amount of noise here in the middle. That's where most of the competition is targeting their messaging. So you want to look for the outliers and just see what opportunities you might have to serve them. Pick your place along the spectrum where you believe you can have the most impact and find your ideal clients. Ask yourself, what other belief patterns do they have? Use the standard demographics to tap into their perspective. What is their 10-year age range, their cultural backgrounds, male or female, all of that stuff. Make sure you go through that and use that information to really tap into how their belief systems are structured, because our backgrounds, our upbringings, where we're from, all of those things actually lead up to the belief patterns that we have, which result in the thoughts that we have and the decisions that we make. Once you've identified which area of the spectrum you really want to focus your messaging on, consider if they're an underserved audience, and then go out and do more research and test it to make sure that you have your target primary audience. Bonus tips, avoid getting stuck on just one. You can go through this process multiple times and use the frame of belief systems. The further you develop this skill, the better you're going to get at doing it. Create multiple personas, create multiple bell curves, and start to think about who is that person you really want to serve. If you create enough personas and go through this process a few times, you'll start to see patterns across the board, and that can help you identify your target primary audience. The last tip is always be testing. There's no magic bullet, there's no overnight success. You have to put in the work, but if you test and research and get really good at identifying with your audience, you can take your business, your messaging, and your video content to a whole new level. Question of the day, let me know in the comments below, what is the most popular and common belief in your industry? If you'd like some more help with getting clear on your target primary audience, check this video over here, and make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're an online coach who wants to spread your message, grow your audience, and create a big impact with video. And I hope to see you in another video.